sponsor that was not beloved by Speaker Briscoe. Briscoe told him, "I'd be happy to support your bill if you would guarantee that you'll be one of the very first people in the state to use it."
Now also, Senator Peters, you're involved with the Department of Veterans Affairs in the state of Maryland too. And can you give us some information about the Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs?
Well, we just had a new secretary come in. I've worked with Jim Atkins for 3 years, and he was a great representative for us. He was actually a dual representative. He was the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and he was also the commanding general of the Maryland National Guard. So he went to the Guard, full time and gave up his post. And he and I worked very closely. We have 480,000 veterans in the state, and 70,000 are from Prince George's County, almost 15%. So one of the things that we talked about was the rise of the Maryland Veterans Commissions, which are popping up in the different counties. I know Ray Chattery's on there. But these groups are really coming forward and being proactive with the Maryland Veterans, Department of Veterans. And I think it's really important that we continue to try to get one Veterans Commission for each county and, of course, Baltimore City, because you're talking about really just increasing the number of veterans out there locally that are getting plugged into the state and, pushing the issues forward. How many are on the commission? I know I co-sponsored the bill with
There's 13 on the
Councilman Knott.
commission.
So you talk about 24, you're talking about...
The three of us are all members of the
Right.
Oh, are
you? Jerry's vice chairman.
Okay.
And Bob's a member as the VFW. Unfortunately, I'm on the commission, but I'm a non-voting secretary.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I offended you guys.
No,
I didn't know you were at the
not
commission. I apologize.
Yeah, they're all three, right?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
heavy from your district. We have a half a dozen from Bowie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're close. We're in
Tony
this district,
Begenwald
right.
and isn't Lambert? No, he's not from here.
And Andy Martell.
Andy Martell. Yeah.
And then Lambert's from Upper Marlboro.
Right.
And
And the vice chairman is Councilwoman Ingrid Turner's brother Henry, who's
He's
from
the chairman.
this district.
Right,
He's chairman.
right.
Yeah, he's chairman.
Now, one of the recommendations also was trying to have the state set up service offices throughout the state to assist veterans. Right. And again, I'm sure it's running into budget problems, but we seem to see a number of Maryland Veterans Affairs individuals around.
One of the things we did during the task force was we took a map of Maryland and we plotted where all the service centers were, and then we measured how far they were. There was probably about 6 or 7 areas that were really lacking, and we were trying to come up with a standard which we put forth in that document that you have there in front of you, Bob. We tried to say, here's the standard, 45 minutes away or X miles. And so we made recommendations as to where they need to put service centers so that every veteran could travel the same distance to get to a service center. Because there are some areas where the veteran, 2-3 hours, it's just, they're not going to go. They're going to stay at home and say, forget it, So we really need to work on that. And we could even do some public-private partnership. If there's a hospital close by, we could, make a kind of a room just for veterans. We talked about a little clinic. So there's ways to do it, but we just have to really be accountable and make it convenient for everybody.
Also, Doug, you're chairman of the Maryland, the Veterans Caucus down in Annapolis, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and about how many legislators are involved in that right now?
Well, anybody can be a member. You
Right.
don't have to be a vet to be on there. There's a number of non-veterans on there, but they're really supportive of the veterans' causes. What happens really is, and the truth be told, is that the General Assembly is very pro-veteran, very veteran-friendly. I've put a couple bills through. Last year we did the sales and use tax exemption.
Right.
It sunsetted after 3 years, and we just extended it for 3 years. 47 sponsors. There's only 47 senators on the bill. When I asked for co-sponsors, everybody raised their hand. The disabled veterans bill that we put in last year, the 3% set aside, 47 people voted for that bill. That bill died on the House 2 years in a row. I've gotten it out of the Senate. That's a bill we really need to push through this year. So it's very veteran friendly there, and you know, and the House is very veteran friendly too.
There are a lot of health issues related to veterans, especially coming out with the head trauma and so forth that's happening now more than we've ever seen before in prior conflicts. And Maryland is trying very hard to assist Maryland veterans in that area. Can you tell us a little bit more about the behavioral health initiatives that are being started to kind of help veterans in this area?
Yeah, well, actually, there's another advisory board that's been created, Veterans Health Advisory Board. It's chaired by Lieutenant Governor. Right. And the Secretary of Veterans Affairs is on there. Also, the Secretary of Hygiene is on there, Health and Hygiene. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is the issue. You spoke of it earlier. The soldier wants to discharge and get out and go forward, but they don't fill out the proper paperwork, and then when they come back and they have these recurring problems that were combat oriented, it's hard for them to get the medical care that they need, because they'll say, well, look, you never said this when you discharged. You just checked the boxes and you rolled out of here and signed your forms. You know, that's a major issue, is when they're leaving you know, active duty and going back to civilian life, they've got to fill those forms out properly and be truthful about what really happened and the feelings that they're having, sickness, anxiety, you know, that sort of thing, because that's one of the problems. The other issue, I think, is it occurs 2-3 years down the road as well. You know, we went and visited Charlotte Hall. There was a couple of individuals who had PTSD. One of the individuals, unfortunately, you know, had some issues with causing him depression, divorce, you know, just a whole lot of things. He just couldn't get motivated. You know, he was in such an intense environment. And then, boom, everything's kind of calm, you know. And it was those kind of stories that really helped us kind of frame where we're going with this. So that's going to be a major focal point when that report is completed. And making sure that they get the proper care that they need. And we put $2 million aside in a tough budget to support this. So we're hoping we can help the vets.
Now, you mentioned Charlotte Hall. I got a report from Sharon down at for our joint veterans meeting, and I was really surprised to see that the capacity over the last year has increased over 15%. They're like 84% capacity now out of 504 beds. Well, we were told that once we get into the 90%, then that's when they will start looking at another home in the state. Of course, right now that's going to be kind of like iffy until we get into a better financial position. So, but Charlotte Hall is a premier place right now, and it is rather close to Prince George's County.
Yeah, I think as a veteran, every veteran should at least go visit Charlotte Hall. You know, they do great work, and there's a whole camaraderie. If you go down and look at the different rooms, it has everybody's different branch. Right. There's a lot of pride there, and it's a very well-run facility.
The next fight will be when they build the new one, and probably it's at least 3 years away. Fight between Baltimore City, Western Maryland, and the Eastern Shore. They all, and the criticism of Charlotte Hall is that it's too remote from too many veterans.
Right.
It's nice for us. We're an hour away, but it's a pretty tough ride if you come from Hagerstown or Havre Grace. So
well, we could talk along for another half an hour, and we want to thank Senator Peters for joining us today. And thank you for watching Veterans Forum. We hope you enjoyed the program and learned information useful to you. Now we ask you to get involved with your local Bowie veterans by actively participating in one of our veterans organizations. Our numbers are on the screen. We ask you to call. I also want to thank Tom Allen as our director, and thanks again for watching Veterans Forum.